Hey guys, Omni here. New Rockstars already has their breakdown out for the first episode of Miss Marvel, and we're going to be checking out here today. Likely, they got a review copy of this, and they got to pre-record this ahead of time, or they are just so good at it at this point, they just completely just spit this thing out, man. I gotta say, kudos to them over there. If only we could get review copies, man. So I have to expect that next week it'll probably be out that quick too. By the time they're, actually no, next week, by the time my reaction's out, both the episode and their breakdown will probably have been out, because I will not be able to get up on this as quickly as this week. That is almost for certain. So, but I'm excited, man. I really dug this first episode. It just had me smiling ear to ear the entire time. It was a blast. It was endearing. It was wholesome. It was cute. And so relatable. And I loved all the unique visual imagery that they had throughout it. Like, just the way they depicted her imagination. As I mentioned in my reaction, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Gave me some very Scott Pilgrim versus the World and kind of Mitchell's versus the Machines kind of vibes. And I just really, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. Begin to end, man. I'm really excited to see where they go with the rest of this story and see how her journey unfolds. And that said, guys, let's check out the Easter eggs and hidden details that we missed thanks to our good friends over at New Rockstars. Let's go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Miss Marvel Episode 1, which makes us wonder, why are the only superpowers I leave fan conventions with sunburn and COVID? Let's break down this first episode shot by shot for the many MCU Easter
Yeah, this
eggs
is going to be a big one spent on the opening, I'm sure.
It's time to talk to the directors of this episode, Adil and Bilal, who gave me some exclusive insights that I will be including in this breakdown.
Interesting.
The Marvel Studios title card has now been updated with a shot of Doctor Strange from Multiverse of Madness, and then on the M, it's our man Moon Knight. Over this week here, The Weeknd's Blinding Lights, a tease for the aesthetics of this series. Many shots have blinding lens flares of the same kind of purple fuchsia color
that is
of Miss
true.
Marvel's hard light in the weird realm that she goes to. And
yeah,
it is literally
what is that?
blinding light that activates Kamala's powers at the convention.
That's such a good detail.
Blinded by the light of her own new cosmic powers, both how cool they are and the burden of being a superhero. This opening sequence is, I love it, a YouTube video as Kamala uses her drawings to recap the events of Avengers Endgame. Now, Kamala Khan first appeared as a fan of Captain Marvel Carol Danvers in a 2013 Captain Marvel comic, and then shortly after got her own spin-off in 2014 from writer G. Willow Wilson that explored her point of view as a Pakistani-American Muslim teenager in Jersey City, and really a total Marvel stan. Now, one step removed fandom is at the heart of this character, and why so many comics readers, as Marvel fans ourselves, could connect with her. And it's just so great that this series opens with a Marvel fan video. I feel seen. Iman Vellani herself is an MCU nerd who carries around with her a notebook filled with MCU notes and questions, who I found out in the press conference is a big fan of this channel, might be watching right now, I hope so. All this to say, this opening feels super authentic. We start with Kamala's drawings, including Grouchy Hulk, and then hands together with Bismillah, an expression meaning in the name of God, an expression that
and her little sloth.
This episode. We see her flying sloth, and then Bigfoot with his nether regions and upper regions covered by stars. Kamala says this is a 10-part series on Earth's mightiest hero, using the Avengers moniker, but describing Captain Marvel's savior role in Endgame. We see drawings of Cap, Iron Man, Hulk, Black Panther, Thick, Thor, and Okoye slaying Thanos' forces in the final charge of Endgame. Hawkeye is using a rubber band bow flinging thumbtacks. There's a post-it note listing Captain Marvel's sightings, sandy beaches, Tokyo, dark alley, and an arena. Kamala says the Avengers were losing at this point in the battle, and she's not wrong. It was really an all his last moment when Captain Marvel showed up. I like how we see the main Avengers joined by Wanda Maximoff, Ant-Man, Valkyrie, and Pepper Potts' rescue, and we see Cap's shield broken. Kamala
I just love the aesthetic too.
About magical stones, of course, referring to Infinity Stones. We see his warship
Beach
with
Chad Thanos there.
In the corner, we hear an eagle screech over a bird with a Carol Danvers mohawk. Right below that is a drawing of Proxima Midnight, and then we see Carol's fighter jet and Carol flying past a sign that reads "The future is female." Then some comics art of Captain Marvel flying through space, and Kamala drags an MS Paint file of Captain Marvel across her desktop screen. What generation of computer is she using? And I love it. Kamala mentioned studying Scott Lang's podcast.
It's just so
Big Me, Little Me
unique.
On on This Powered Life, which must be a parody of This American Life that does interviews with superheroes in the MCU, suggesting that this superhero confessional podcast was how the public of the MCU learned of everything the Avengers did during the Infinity War and Endgame events. And this might have been what informed Paul Greengrass's film The Snap that we saw on the in-flight movie screen in Spider-Man Far From Home. Just a cool little detail that actually tells us a lot about the MCU. Now, when I asked the directors, Dylan Bilal, about other Avengers having podcasts in the MCU, here's what they had to say. Do you think any other Avengers might have a podcast series other than Scott Lang?
Well, it would be great to. I mean, I would love to know what the Hulk, what his podcast is, or Deadpool. I mean,
Deadpool would be funny. I think.
Imagine you have Deadpool and Blade doing a podcast together.
Dude,
that pretty cool.
You heard it here, folks. MCU canon. Blade and Deadpool have a podcast
they were
together.
just shooting shit together. That wasn't a confirmation on anything.
Kamala
Don't
recaps
get
how
too
in
crazy.
Endgame Carol flew directly through Thanos' fleet. Also, how she changed her hair for this return, and she did take on Thanos one by one. Kamala does leave out, though, how Carol Danvers got walloped pretty hard with the Power Stone. I like how Cap and Scott Lang are seen with actual band-aids on them, and
he's got a fucking torn, yeah,
back together with Scotch tape.
God.
Kamala addresses how Carol, the Cosmic Avenger, is not on Earth currently, recalling Rhodey calling Carol out in Endgame and setting up whatever the plot will be for when Kamala Khan joins Monica Rambeau and Carol Danvers in the film The Marvels. Here we see photos of Kamala's friends Bruno and Nakia and her brother Amir, and in this animation when Carol returns at the Avenger Con, beside a Cap shield is a War Machine head winking over at a Carol head smooching, which is a nod to the romance between these two characters in the comics. And maybe in the MCU, I mean, they had that moment where they looked at each other in Endgame. Kamala says she has a 2-part series on why Thor is secretly a gamer, a reference, of course, to Thor playing Fortnite in Endgame. And she says new episodes drop every Wednesday, a nod to how this series drops on Wednesdays.
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
Baby Productions, 2 subscribers. Oh, you'll get there.
Yeah,
Must
it's
be
like
Bruno
for that
and Nakia,
work,
since
that
they
quality
comments on this video
deserves
Now, this
more.
press conference included me asking Iman Vellani directly if Kamala Khan subscribed to New Rockstars, and she said that she wasn't sure, but probably at least a variant of us. So sweet of her to be so kind to us. We love you, Iman. Especially since you know the artists of the show here were citing New Rockstars with these thumbnails and video titles. Truth revealed on The Real Carol Danvers Story, Ant-Man and the Wasp's Romantic Vacation in Paris. I like how that flying ant has a beret. And then, where did she get her powers? Bitten by a radioactive feminist? On this day, Kamala wears a shirt reading, "Ladies, let's get information," with Captain Marvel, Valkyrie, and Wasp
What the
parodying
hell?
the Beyonce song. And we meet her family, her brother Amir, her father Yusuf, and her mother Muniba. Of the 3, I like how Yusuf is the rule breaker. He tells Amir to pray less. He tells Kamala to skip stop signs and fake looking in the mirror. But the first thing Kamala does on her driving test after buckling in, mirror check with the aviators. It is clear that she is thinking to herself, higher for the faster, baby, which may be also why she floors the gas. The driving instructor is played by Randy Havens, aka Mr. Clark from Stranger Things. The directors of the series say that they were inspired by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and like that movie does, the opening titles here flash through more of Kamala Khan's art, showing a comic cover drawn
definitely
by her.
got those
Jersey
vibes.
City Comics, approved by the KK code, Kamala Khan code. I get a little nervous when I see multiple Ks back to back, but we'll past that. In
Yeah,
this comic issue, she battles
understandable.
the Something King, and on the page behind this are more drawings showing Scott Lang and Kamala's mutated human man-ant. As Kamala's parents drive her home, Muniba says,
"This is my fault. This is all my fault. These are my genetics. I mean, I come from a long line of fantasizing unrealistic daydreamers. My mother was one."
yeah, little clue here pointing to Kamala and her mother's family history, specifically Muniba's mother as the source of the powers that Kamala gains. Kamala attends Coles Academic High School, where the founders are all comics writers and artists most crucial to the creation of the Kamala Khan character. Of course, G. Willow Wilson, the Miss Marvel comics writer I mentioned before, Stephen Wacker, Marvel animated producer behind many of Kamala's comic team-ups, Adrian Alfona, an artist on the first Kamala run, Jamie McKelvey, an artist who helped relaunch Carol Danvers and designed Kamala Khan's first Miss Marvel outfit, Ian Herring, known for titles like Miss Marvel and Silk especially, Takeshi Miyazawa, another artist who worked on the Kamala run, Joe Caramanga, a Marvel Comics writer on several titles over the years, and Nico Leon, another artist who worked on the Kamala comics. I love that they get a shout out here. I just, hope that Disney pays them all a little bonus too. We meet Kamala's friends, Bruno Corelli and Nakia Bahadir, and the popular girl of the school, Zoe Zimmer, all of these from this particular run of the comics. Around the school are signs reading, "Dustin for Prez, he is a very good choice." Dustin Berry was the guy who worked in the set department for the show and a number of MCU titles. Kamala meets with guidance
Nice.
counselor Gabe Wilson, I assume named after G. Willow Wilson. GWW is written on his desk organizer. A quick montage of Kamala's mishaps all show flashes of light, the dodgeball hit, the chemistry explosion, the sunlight beaming in on the art teacher. Kamala is blinded by the light at the beginning, setting her up to eventually control and master the light. Mr. Wilson motivates Kamala with the lyrics of Reflection from Mulan. I'm not gonna lie,
Yep.
high school staff could do worse than just recite Disney lyrics to kids. He says,
I know fantasy's fun, fantasy's really fun, but right now, I need you to pull yourself together and join reality.
I like how the split screen reflects how divided Kamala is right now, staying grounded in reality or escaping into her dreams and fantasies. Her path forward is in the latter. The Circle Q shop shows up, Kamala's home base in this run of the comics. She and Bruno plan to go to Avengers Con, which is a lot like the 8A celebration in the Avengers game, which leads to Kamala Khan getting her powers in San Francisco. The graffiti they bypassed all comes to light. It looks amazing, visualizing their final flourish pitches.
I didn't even put that those
Marvel,
two things
mashups
together.
Captain Panther or Iron Marvel. They end up in a cat fight. Then Doctor Strange Marvel, who comes in from a portal and makes that same fanned out arm pose as the Images of Icon spell that we saw in Infinity War and the Souls of the Damned in Multiverse of Madness. Then Captain Marvel on a Pegasus, like Valkyrie rode in Endgame and Jane rides in Thor 4. Then Princess Captain Marvel, who changes the graffiti word to shine. Then Zombie Captain Marvel, her thumb falls off. I love that. And when they are all rejected, they all look really sad. Like you can see Steampunk Ghost taking her hat off. Interesting how Kamala watches an episode of Felicity. Like, where is that playing on TV and syndication anymore? But then Kamala's upside down world turns right side up on this delivery from her nanny, showing how what's inside that box is really the answer that will straighten out her life, the bangle. An artifact that Muniba has definitely seen before and immediately tells Amir to hide in the attic. When you think about it, this whole afternoon with Kamala and her mom must have been unplanned. Like originally Muniba was gonna go wedding shopping with Amir, but she took Kamala to take Kamala's mind off of the bangle and off of her grandmother. Now there are a lot of ways
I
we
didn't
can
read it
read
like
this
that.
bangle.
That's
Exactly
interesting.
What it is for now could be an analog of the Kree Negaband that transports Marvel to the negative zone, or maybe the quantum bands worn by Quasar to fire energy blasts. I actually think this is some extraterrestrial tech. There is some indecipherable writing and a symbol that looks like a starburst, but really more importantly for Kamala, I think it's something connected to her family history. They get home and greet Bruno.
I'll pack you something to go.
No, I'm good.
Hey.
How was it?
Don't mention Belgium. Any guy named Rob.
Did you ask her about Avenger God?
Bruno, there's a spicy one at the bottom for Nora.
God, I love
okay?
this moment.
How did you do that so fast?
Whoa, so I timed it out. Muniba put that to-go bag together in 10 seconds. If it's meant to be just a super mom gag, we don't really see Muniba do this anywhere else. I'm just saying, it could just be a joke for the mom, or the women of this family might have something going on with them. Her parents refuse to let her attend Avenger Con, and Amir checks in on her asking if she's still afraid of the jinn. Jinns are spirits and demons in Arabic mythology, the term and concept later anglicized as genie. She claims to no longer be afraid of the dark, but she does use a starlight projector thing in her bedroom. Don't worry, Kamala, having a healthy fear of demons is just part of being The poster behind her bed shows Captain Marvel from Jerry Dodson's cover of the comic Captain Marvel #5. It really just seems like they pulled every awesome looking comics image of Captain Marvel and put it on her bedroom walls. I like how Kamala's text appears in the starlights of her ceiling, whereas Bruno's response takes the form of the street paint as the taxi drives over it. But in addition to the VFX animation, I like how they did this practically by igniting the neon signs in the store windows, and then the LED marquee showing their ellipses and their emojis. Kamala's parents try to compromise that Kamala can go to Avengers Con with her dad, with her as Little Hulk, him as Big Hulk, which I would love to have my parents offer to do this with me. I don't think I'd find it embarrassing, but I get it. Kamala says it'd be humiliating, and there's a huge missed opportunity here to have Yusuf sadly walk out to the 80s Hulk theme.
Oh, that would have been great.
Like, yeah, wouldn't that have been awesome? I mean, they did use this track in the 2008 Hulk film. Bruno references a time
wow,
when
I didn't
Kamala
even
fell
notice
into
that
the
back
Hudson
then.
River, which is something that happens to Zoe Zimmer in the comics that leads to Kamala's first superpowered rescue. Kamala and Bruno sit on the roof, their feet dangling by an Iron Man sign, but it looks a bit blurred. And that might have been because the show's producers were told to tone down the numerous Iron Man references they were gonna make. But actually, if you look really closely, you can barely make out that this is really an Iron Man themed cereal called Iron Bran. Behind them is a sign for Edison Electric with these bolt images, which might be teasing Kamala's eventual logo of a lightning bolt. guilt. He gives her these gloves for her cosplay.
Or those photon gloves?
Yeah.
Yes, photon is capitalized in the closed captioning, meaning that they are referring to Monica Rambeau, Photon, from her mother Maria's call sign. She goes by both Photon and Spectrum in the comics, but WandaVision never actually named her. So she's now confirmed as Photon, and apparently enough of a public figure for Kamala and Bruno to know about her and her powers, which is interesting. Now,
That's
the directors
curious.
had this to say about the Photon Easter egg. How do they know who Monica Rambeau is? I want to ask you guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah. Whenever we would ask a question like that to Kevin Feige, he would say, I don't answer that.
I'll say that.
We will see and discover like anybody else, because we would always say, hey, so what happens in the Marvels actually? What can we pass by? And or you know, Doctor Strange or in Spider-Man, and he would always say, no, if there's a problem, I'll tell you, and I don't tell you why. So
Just stay in the
stay in your
Marvel
lane,
world.
Stay in your lane.
So to
Stay
me,
in
that
your
sounds like
lane.
it might have
Gosh,
been a
Kevin
deliberate
Feige,
inclusion
man.
by the studio to set up Kamala's coming crossover with Monica and Carol. Kamala breaks down her elaborate plan to Bruno to get to Avengers Con. In her fantasy, her cosplay is actual MCU wardrobe standard, and she does a Black Widow landing out her window. The pose, something that the show's producer said Kamala would know as one of the few female superheroes she grew up seeing footage of. Bruno in this fantasy cosplays as Tony Stark, wearing sunglasses, a goatee, and a glowing chest reactor. Avenger Con is at Camp Lehigh. That's a New Jersey base where Steve Rogers trained, where Steve and Black Widow returned to in Winter Soldier, and Cap and Tony visited
Nice.
70 in Endgame. On the bus in this fantasy are cosplayers of the Star Spangled Dancers, and Loki, and a sorcerer with a shield. Among all the fantasy selfies are a pipe, a cylindrical Rocket Raccoon, a Nick Fury, Vision eating a pretzel, and it ends with Kamala dreaming of getting a tiara, something that she rejected earlier when Bruno pitched Princess Captain Marvel. And then the set transitions practically into an upright bed, which is the same camera trick of the Nexus antidepressant commercial in WandaVision. And while Kamala's plan ultimately goes awry, she does end the night dropping into bed. Yes, this dream plan immediately falls apart. Instead of a superhero landing out her window, she breaks the tree branch and falls hard.
And
That
somehow
was the way
doesn't
she's
break
gonna
her
get back into
ribs.
her room. Really, the only way she's able to get back into her window is with the help of that hard light that she's later able to summon. Poor Bruno, even his outfit doesn't look as cool. We learn later his whole cosplay is just a white lab coat for Bruce Banner. This poor guy spent way more time making Kamala's cosplay suit than he did his own. We all need friends like Bruno.
I didn't even think about that.
The Camp Lehigh banner is actually
We don't
similar to the
talk
sign at the
about
gate when Tony and Cap
Bruno.
arrived in 1970 in Endgame. They added Cap's shield in the middle of it, and I like how they put this large statue of Captain America in a Jeep. If you listen to the music playing in the scene, it is the Star-Spangled Man with a plan. I like the little
swear
dance that
he's
the guy
dressed
in
as
the
Marty
Wakanda garb
McFly,
does
man.
to celebrate his awesome look and fit. Inside, the convention booths include Things Hulk Smashed, which I guess is just a collection of rubble and broken stuff from all of Hulk's collateral damage over the years. You can see a fridge with a giant handprint in it. There's a giant man Scott Lang display with a fairy in a pool, recreating his size up in the San Francisco Bay in Ant-Man and the Wasp. There's a Cosmic Avenger Captain Marvel setup. There's a Realm of Asgard with a Thor throne that you can sit on. We see the Iron Man dancers from the Stark Expo in Iron Man 2, mugs of Mjolnir ale, some art pieces referencing America's ass.
You're welcome, America.
Then there's a memorial wall for the fallen with messages to various loved ones pinned up to it. In the middle is Natasha and Tony on display, but no Vision. Also in the upper right of all the notes is a mention of the Sokovia Accords. I assume someone's saying, this is why we need the Sokovia Accords. Hey, why you gotta make this so political, bro? There's another booth with a guy dressed as Drax, showing a DVD on sale, the Peter Quill Star Boy story, Pal to All Planets, a 40-minute documentary series. I like how the title calls him Star Boy, keeping up with a recurring gag of messing up his name.
It isn't Star Prince.
Star Lord.
Oh, sorry.
Presumably, if Quill himself would have been the source for this, they probably would have gotten his name right, so I'm guessing this is a third party trying to cash in on it. Also in the background is a shelf with rocket plushies labeled Trash Pandas, because that's what he is. He's a trash panda.
Is that better?
I don't know. It's so much worse.
Another guy hands out pamphlets for Avenger tours to New Asgard, which might be part of the tourist
Yo.
attractions that we are now seeing in Thor: Love and Thunder footage.
The
Now, here's a fun
cruises.
one. After Kamala leaves the bathroom, there is a cardboard Captain America and a cardboard Iron Man on the left of the frame, which were actually cameos by Saagar Shaikh and Rish Shah, who play Amir and Cameron. Thanks to Saagar, friend of the show, who actually sent me a photo of him and Rish on
That's
set.
hilarious.
Kamala is able to unlock the bangle by twisting a small circle that turns 4 other cogs, and then it clips on and extends, then coats her body body with a layer of cosmic radiation, and then she falls backward into this interesting purple-tinted realm filled with shadowy figures, their eyes
Multiple
glowing. Many of them
tears.
look bald and caped, carrying spears. I don't know, they look a bit like Watchers, a statue of whom appears in Thor 4. Now, if this bangle is based on the Kree negabands,
Interesting.
we might be looking at the negative zone, but I think this is going to be more personal to Kamala and her family, her Nani. The purple and fuchsia tones actually remind me a lot of the ancestral plane, which Moon Knight just told
Could
us
be.
is part of the same MCU afterlife network as the Egyptian underworld. We could be looking at another spiritual realm that's connected with the ancestors of the Khan women, ancestors who might be extraterrestrial, Kree or Skrull, or Kree experiments on the humans, the Inhumans. Because in the comics, Kamala gets her powers by being enveloped in Terrigen mist, a process called Terrigenesis that creates Inhumans. And in her Terrigen cocoon, she sees the forms of Cap and Iron Man and Captain Marvel and comes out in a form modeled on her idol Carol Danvers, but with stretchy limbs, before she realizes that she could just look like herself. In Marvel lore, the Inhumans are genetic experiments by the Kree, and in the MCU, the Kree Supreme Intelligence uses tech in which its form manifests based on the perceiver's inner desires. So Kamala's cosmic powers from this bangle may still be Kree or Inhuman in origin, but coming to Kamala by way of her Pakistani grandmother, who maybe could have been an extraterrestrial refugee on Earth with alien technology to harness the power of the cosmos to manifest one's inner desires. In fact, this layer of cosmic radiation wisping around her body could be the MCU's version of Terrigen Mist. I'm just doing my best to theorize how this works. We'll learn more in future episodes. Now,
Yeah,
as she
we'll
takes
just
the
roll with
stage,
it for now.
Light is what triggers her powers to activate the flashing camera. And as she is blinded by the light, she emits a series of crystalline discs, what the show calls hard light, the same colors of the realm she fell into. Now, yes, this is a change from Kamala's powers in the comics, in which she can stretch and embiggen her limbs like Reed Richards can, but the producers have said that they want to better align MCU Kamala with where the MCU currently is. And that seems to be either cosmic radiation of Captain Marvel and Photon and the Kree, or maybe a kind of mystical light inherited from her grandmother. Or really, again, as I think, a mix of the two. One blast of these knocks the giant man helmet loose so that this thing boulders through the convention, Rude Goldberging the Avengers boost so that a giant Mjolnir swings right into the
God,
zone.
that
Think
got
about it, for
me.
Kamala, this is her worst
That
nightmare.
scene right
Something
there.
that she did, causing the collapse of every Avenger before her eyes. In the comics, Kamala's first hero moment is saving Zoe and beginning her hand to lift her from the Hudson River. Here, she uses a cosmic extension of her hand and arm to cushion Zoe's fall. Actually, in
Nice.
the closing credits of this episode, you can see an embiggened version of Kamala's hand catching Zoe, as it looks in the comics. The animation on the house as Kamala gets home shows the time as 11:11, which is the time one makes a wish. A nod to Kamala going through a bit of wish fulfillment here. Her mother catches her sneaking back in.
Do you want to be good, like we raised you to be? Or do you want to be some, this cosmic head in the clouds person?
And dropping back down on
cosmic.
her bed, Kamala
Duh.
answers.
Cosmic.
Yes, this decision comes with Kamala falling backward, just as she did when she first snapped on that bangle and fell into her, what I think, ancestral netherworld. And when you think back to the earlier scene, this reaffirms her accidental reverse on the driving test as exactly the right direction for her, moving backward, but really just to give herself a runway
Interesting.
to launch into the cosmos. The closing credits have a few more fun Easter eggs, Kamala's iconic red Converses and her scarf from the comics. We see a Trust a Bro moving truck from Hawkeye.
Yo!
And we see the same Kamala Khan yellow bolt on purple t-shirt design from the comics.
Dude.
Now there's a quick shot of a skyscraper with the vestiges of the Avengers Tower Quinjet landing pad, but it's a new facade. This is no longer Avengers Tower. I would say this could be
We
the
still
Baxter
need to
building,
know
but
who
Multiverse
owns that
of Madness
building.
showed the Baxter Foundation in Central Park. Then again, that was 838. This is 616. Even though Iman Vellani vocally disagrees with Kevin Feige on the MCU's numerical designation. I'm sorry, we love you, Iman, but I gotta go with Papa Feige on this one. Then on to a post-credit scene featuring the return of Arian Moayed as DODC agent Cleary from Spider-Man No Way Home. Last seen interrogating Peter Parker, MJ, Ned, and Aunt May before Matt Murdock was able to get the DODC to drop the charges. Cleary and Agent Deaver now see footage of Kamala and decide to bring her in, meaning this series is going to shed some more light on what the DODC is up to, their connections to Nick Fury and Sword, and hopefully confirm my
Yeah, because he
Skrull
had
suspicions that Agent
inside
Cleary
details
might be a
that
Skrull
Nick
connected with
was
Marvel's secret
off
invasion
world
plans. His concern
that nobody
book
else really
suggests
knew,
he
so it's
has
interesting.
seen this kind of technology before. And if Cleary is a Skrull, he might be seeing some Kree weapons tech emerging in one of the Kree sleeper cells Nick Fury, aka the Skrull Talos, mentioned in Spider-Man Far From Home. Remember, Kree and Skrulls are forever at war, something we'll probably learn more about in Secret Invasion. And the next title Kamala Khan is going to appear in, The Marvels. So maybe now this look is telling us that Cleary is seeing some evidence of a Kree sleeper cell with the Kree genetic experiments called Inhumans, which might be what Kamala Khan's Pakistani ancestors were. We will see. And I'm not sure how much to read into this, but under Stever's phone on her desk are wanted flyers for a Caucasian woman, 5'8", brown hair, 180 pounds, wanted in connection to a double homicide on July 12, 1979 in the municipal graveyard. 1979 is ages ago in MCU history, and my only guess based on a graveyard slaying is that this might tie into Blade somehow. There are some photos on their board showing some folks from older eras. Maybe vampires are on their docket too. That's everything I spotted in this great first episode.
Interesting. Great breakdown. Follow these guys, subscribe to these guys, give them all the love for putting together these massive videos, man. This was a wild one. There was a lot of stuff in this episode. But man, like I said, I love the attention to detail. I love the tone, the feel, the vibe, the art direction, the presentation, the performances all throughout it. Just like with Eric, I'd have to say I'm still kind of waiting to see how they evolve and explain the powers, see where they come, see where it's going to go. Because I think that's the only thing that I'm kind of a little, I wouldn't say hung up on, but cautiously optimistic about, you know? Because it is a very strong point of contention, and understandably so. There's a lot of really key, core, fundamental Kamala Khan characterizations that come rooted from those original powers. So I'm curious to see how they factor those in with this story. But so far, I like what they're doing. I'm really endeared by this character and the story that they're telling, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here, guys. So sound off in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts, your Easter eggs. Did you find anything that maybe they missed? Sound in the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Feel free to join us in our Discord. We could talk about it there as well. Links to that and all my socials are down below. Feel free to check out my reaction to the episode or the full watch along on the Patreon or the YouTube memberships. But before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends: Manny Sher, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, Philly Vane, York, Corey Scott, Margaret Grace, Mary Bradley, Melita, Robert Anguiano, and Cal Kestis Nation. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. But that's it for this video, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.